Hi, I'm Jeremy, the Internet Scrum Master. I have over 20 years experience in tech and finance across many domains, and for the past decade I've been a full-time Scrum Master. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're looking at the evolution of the Scrum Master. If you look around the industry today, you'll see a lot of confusion, a lot of agile transformations stalling out or failing, and a lot of professionals wondering what a Scrum Master is actually supposed to do. In this deep dive, we're going to discuss the persistent misconceptions surrounding the role, how it scales in enterprise environments like Safe 6, and the deep art of coaching, and finally, how to navigate and thaw the notoriously resistant frozen middle or middle management of an organization. Whether you're an aspiring Agilist, a frustrated developer, or a manager trying to understand your Agile teams, this video is for you. Let's dive in. Before we look at the complexities of scaled agility, we need to address the misunderstandings that often neutralize the Scrum framework in standard environments. When companies decide to go Agile, they rarely build from the ground up. Instead, organizations frequently try to map Agile roles directly onto legacy hierarchies. This is a fatal flaw. When you try to cram a Scrum Master into an old school management box, it strips the Scrum Master of their true utility and reduces a systemic change agent to a tactical administrator. Here are the three most common and damaging anti-patterns I see in the field. The first is the project manager fallacy. In legacy models, a project manager manages the iron triangle of scope, time, and budget. They are the central node of control. The Scrum Master, however, holds zero accountability for task assignment, schedule management, or budget allocation. We are facilitators, not dictators. If an organization forces a Scrum Master to act as a project manager, it destroys team self-organization and self-management. Why? Because the team stops thinking for themselves. This causes developers to revert to a state of learned helplessness, where they wait for instructions. You'll see this in daily stand-ups, where the team talks to the Scrum Master instead of to each other. The daily stand-up is a forum for developers to discuss their work amongst themselves, not to deliver status to the Scrum Master. The second is what I call the Jira Secretary. It's another systemic anti-pattern, which reduces the Scrum Master to an administrative assistant who merely updates digital Kanban boards, moves electronic tickets, or takes meeting minutes. Updating Jira is not your primary job. The true work of a Scrum Master, like observing team dynamics and mediating conflict, is qualitative and largely invisible. If you are staring at a screen, moving tickets, you are missing the micro expressions, the size, and the unspoken tension between team members. And the third is the Scrum Police. This is a dogmatic enforcer who weaponizes the Scrum Guide. They strictly mandate time boxes and attendance without articulating the underlying principles of empiricism. They care more that the stand-up is exactly 15 minutes than whether the team actually synchronized their work. This dogmatic enforcement turns Agile ceremonies into performative compliance exercises. Everyone goes through the motions, nobody sees value. This is known as either zombie Scrum or Agile in name only, depending on who you ask. While standard Scrum focuses on a single team, the Scaled Agile Framework, or SAFe, introduces a massive operational scale. So when dozens or hundreds of teams, if you're talking about a single release train, it's usually between 5 and 12 teams. So that's between like 50 and 120 or 125 people, I think. But you can scale up more from there. But when these teams must synchronize to deliver complex enterprise solutions, the scope of the Scrum Master fundamentally alters. You're no longer just managing a standalone unit, you're a vital node in a massive network of other teams, generally interdependent on one another to some degree. Recognizing this evolution, SAFe officially rebranded the title to Scrum Master / Team Coach. This acknowledges that the enterprise agility requires supporting both traditional Scrum teams and teams utilizing the SAFe framework. It broadens the toolkit for the Scrum Master. But the biggest shift is what some people call cleaning the tank. I haven't used that myself, but I hear people say that. Historically, the Scrum Master looked inward to protect the team. You're a shield against outside forces, but the SAFe team must look outward. So if the overall organizational system is dysfunctional, protecting an isolated team is futile. Think about it. If all the water is dirty in your tank, in your fish tank, then the fish will eventually succumb to the environment, get sick, and die. You can have the most high-performing, cross-functional team in the world, but if your company's deployment pipeline is broken or the funding model is toxic, that team will fail. Therefore, the mandate is to clean the tank, as in like cleaning the fish tank, to keep the fish healthy. So by partnering with system architects, product management, and the broader community to elevate enterprise effectiveness, you must look beyond your team's backlog and start optimizing the entire value stream. So whether you're in a lightweight Scrum environment or in a structured SAFe environment, your most profound value lies in behavioral coaching. This is the invisible work that I mentioned earlier. A mature team coach must frequently adopt the difficult stance of the mirror holder. What does that mean? It means exercising immense emotional intelligence and professional courage to confront a team when they're engaging in self-deception. For example, when a team continually misses their sprint goals but blames external factors during the retrospective, you have to hold up that mirror. Similarly, if you're a Scrum Master on a release train and your release train engineer is forcing you into product owner or product management work, you need to educate and coach the RTE and other leadership of the train of the actual roles each person plays. If you have a Scrum Master play the product owner role, in addition to facilitation, not only are you overloading the work of the Scrum Master, taking responsibility and accountability away from the product owner, but you also introduce a conflict of interest because the product owner is focused on building the right thing and the Scrum Master is focused on building things fast. So you really have to hold the boundaries there. So in this way, you function partially as a performance coach, a conflict mediator, and an organizational therapist, I suppose. But you can't hold up the mirror if the team doesn't feel safe, right? You must establish a protected space where it's safe to fail. This is known as psychological safety, because without that safety, the team adopts toxic, risk-averse postures. They will lie. If they feel that telling the truth is going to cost them their job, their social status within the organization, or if they feel threatened in any other way, then they will lie and tell you everything is fine when things are not fine. And that's why psychological safety is vital in an organization. A lot of, especially older people, people my age or older, often revert back to the pre-Agile era of command and control and think that, just do your job and don't talk back. That doesn't work in knowledge-based organizations. So what does a lack of safety look like beyond what I just said? Well, developers might hide bugs. Junior members might self-censor and refuse to challenge suboptimal designs from senior engineers. If an environment punishes mistakes, people will hide their mistakes. It's human nature, right? So by asking powerful, open-ended questions, the coach guides the team to self-correct and discover their own solutions. Rather than dictating technical direction, you don't give them the answer. You give them the framework to find the answer. And that is part of the invisible work. The team might know that you handed them the framework. They might not know that they wouldn't have discovered the framework had you not pointed it out. And maybe more importantly, um, leadership and management don't always see the work the Scrum Master does. So they think that the role is unnecessary, redundant, or assign non-Scrum Master work like project manager work like I was discussing earlier. Um, that makes it very hard to stand out as a good or a great Scrum Master because it largely goes unseen. So that's also part of the challenge. You really have to make your work and your value apparent without being arrogant. So let's move to the most challenging part of the job. A primary mandate of the role is impediment removal. But we must understand the difference between a tactical blocker and a systemic one. Tactical blockers are daily disruptions like missing software licenses, a cracked hardware drive, you lost access to Jira, you didn't change your password and you can't log in. Those are easy to remove. You make a phone call to IT and you get it fixed. In those cases, I like to train the developers to solve those problems themselves. And hopefully those are the largest part of the problems, although systemic impediments are much harder. They are deeply embedded in the organization's technical architecture, corporate governance, or HR policies. These are the monsters under the bed, as it were. And when escalating these systemic issues, the ultimate test of a mature Scrum Master is navigating the heavily resistant layer of organizational hierarchy known as the frozen middle, or I just say middle management. We can have a little empathy for a second and look at the existential threat that they think it poses to them. So middle managers, directors and resource managers, engineering leads to a lesser extent, derive their authority from assigning tasks and reporting status. That's how they justify their paychecks. Agile strips away both of those functions. In a true Agile environment, the product owner prioritizes the work, the developers assign the tasks to themselves, and transparent artifacts make traditional status reports redundant. Consequently, middle managers experience a profound loss of control and fear, which manifests as active resistance. So they're not bad people, they're terrified, scared of becoming obsolete. So how do we handle this? We reframe leadership. You can't succeed by fighting middle management. If you go to war with the directors, you'll lose. Believe me, I've tried it with various levels of failure. That's not to say I don't push back. I do push back constantly. I'm always vocal in defining the framework. I don't hold my ceremonies, my daily stand-up to 15 minutes exactly. I let the team accomplish the goal. But on the other side of that coin is when there are much larger issues, like I was saying, having your release train engineer misunderstand the roles of product and Scrum Master and start assigning product work to the Scrum Master, that I call out. And I say that to every level of leadership in the organization. And that is part of the job, and it is the part of the job that most Scrum Masters are terrified of performing because it does literally mean you risk your job. And that's the way it is. You can be a great Scrum Master and risk your job to do things right, or you can submit to the existing power structures and not do Scrum Master work and just hold the title. That's not how I operate. So I guess the better way would be to coach them to transition their focus from task control, saying who's doing what, to flow enablement analyzing where work gets stuck and removing that bottleneck. And then finding out where downstream it gets stuck again and removing that bottleneck. Ultimately, you must act as a boundary spanner, clarifying that product management holds authority over the content and the value of the work, while functional management holds authority over the capability and the environment. The role of the modern Scrum Master is not merely to enforce an Agile framework, but to actively hack the organizational culture. Be careful with that. Again, these things can risk your job depending on the organization. Some organizations have higher tolerance for really raw, honest feedback than others. And it is it's an exercise in politics, in emotional regulation, and in perseverance to effectively affect change in an organization. So, like I said, it requires patience, emotional intelligence, emotional control, and then by bridging the gap between the empirical execution at the team level and the strategic enablement at the management level, you become the connective tissue. The Scrum Master is that connective tissue that allows enterprise agility to survive and scale. So if you're a Scrum Master, step away from Jira, stop acting like the Agile Police, look at the team, look at the culture, look at the organization, and start finding ways to make change. If it is a gap in policy that can be leveraged to onboard a new product that the organization may not have a pipeline to onboard, that would be a hack of the organization, a positive hack in that, one, you're introducing a new product which has value. Two, you're exposing a gap in their system that they can take a look at. You're also aligning the teams, because if they don't have a pipeline for new products, they don't know how to handle new products. And by presenting them with one, they're forced into decision-making mode. And that is a good thing. I don't think you'll lose your job over that one. So I would encourage that for just about anybody. So that's it for today's deep dive. If you found this valuable, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below about the biggest systemic impediments you're facing right now. Until next time, thank you. Take care.